So let's start talking about the roster and this character roster that we have in front of us, and what do you guys think is going to happen? And I'm curious to see what you guys think as far as characters that's going to probably potentially get replaced, cut characters, or maybe some new characters that might be able to show up. And I'm going to just say this right now. Me personally, I would like to see everybody on this roster get moved over into a sequel if there is one happening. I wouldn't want to see any of these characters getting removed from this game. And as great as they are, I hope that they'll be able to stay. And just characters in particular that's on the screen right now, like Hugh Neutron, I didn't expect to see him get into the game. I thought it was going to be Jimmy Neutron. So now, what comes to mind right now, maybe Jimmy Neutron is going to be able to get into the brand new game, and we're probably not going to see Hugh Neutron again. But I don't want to see that happen. I would rather have them both in, because he's a great character, and they made a really great moveset. As goofy as he is, and one of the funniest characters, from, if not the funniest, on Jimmy Neutron from his world, I didn't expect to have him get into this kind of game. And just for starters, the characters that have them, or the show that has the most reps right now, is TMNT. You got Leonardo. I just wanted to get started with this. You got Leonardo, Michelangelo, April, and Shredder. That's 4 reps. TMNT has more characters than SpongeBob. I was thinking it'd be more SpongeBob characters rolling in. SpongeBob has 3, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy. There could be way more SpongeBob reps, like Mr. Krabs and Squidward. They could be in the game, and that would equate to 5 different characters or 5 reps from a SpongeBob universe. For the Avatar, you only got 2. Korra is Korra from the Legend of Korra, so obviously herself. You got 2 of the Laos from Laos, and I haven't seen all the episodes. Does he have 10 sisters? I haven't really been able to watch much of the show, but he's the only brother out of all the other siblings who are all sisters. So maybe the others could get in. Anybody think Lincoln Lau's gonna get removed? Or maybe they're gonna bring back Lincoln and Lucy. Lincoln and Lucy have successfully got in to both Nickelodeon Kart Racers 2 and 3. So both Lincoln and Lucy were playable characters in those games, and even the newest one. And it makes me just think, it's just so much stuff. It's just so many different characters. When you think about an individual show, just like I just finished talking about Squidward and Mr. Krabs, Plankton could be with Karen as a duo. I don't think Plankton should come into the game solo. He should be a duo with Karen, like a little mech, just the way I just came up with of how I think he could play. It'll be a perfect duo because the game needs more duo fighters. And not even just that, the lack of villains. But it brings me to Avatar with Fire Nation. They don't have a Fire Nation rep. Katara and Sokka is not even into the game from the Water Tribe. See what I'm saying? And then there's other villains like Ozai and Iroh, and all the other ones could probably get into the game to be able to shine on. And then maybe some other Legend of Korra's characters, who knows. But TMNT, I think we'll probably get to have the most changes. I can really just think of that, because when you take a look at this, you think about TMNT, you're thinking about the 4 turtles. I don't think you're going to be really thinking about Shredder, April, Neil, Casey Jones, and other characters. I think all 4 of the turtles might end up being in the next game. Raphael and Donatello are missing in this game, and I don't know how these decisions are made. I really don't know how they sit down and be able to make these decisions on which characters do we want to get and which character is going to have the most or the highest chance or most likely to get in, and which characters are going to get cut. But to be honest, I see both of these 2, if not Shredder, getting moved, or maybe both of them will probably just end up getting replaced or cut just to add Donatello and Raphael. But when you add them all, just think about this for a second. Leonardo, let's just throw it out there. The sequel comes out and we see Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael. But then April and Shredder gets replaced and gets cut. Maybe they'll settle and keep the 4 turtles. But then on top of that, remember how, if you guys played Shredder's Revenge, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, there was 7 playable characters. You had the 4 turtles, April O'Neil, Master Splinter, and when you complete the story 1 time, you can unlock Casey Jones. Casey Jones was a playable character. So what's stopping him from getting into this kind of game? He can't get in as a brawler. So I'm hoping maybe they could do something like that. And with Casey's just his moveset potential, just things like his offense, and just with smacking people with the hockey stick, things like that, I'm sure it could be more characters like him. And then I'm not even thinking about the villains to join along the side of Shredder. They could have like 10 or more reps for TMNT for the game for DLC. And just look at the other characters. These are all single reps. From when you start here, from Zim to Rocco. Why is he even DLC? I feel like he should have been in the base game. Some people, see, that's why I'm curious to see what you guys think. So maybe some of these characters could be in the base game. Maybe some of them should have been potential DLC for later on, like they did Jenny and Hugh Neutron, which is understandable. But when you start from Zim and you go all the way down to Rocco, they're all single reps. There's one character rep from each show. I don't even know if Nigel's going to be in the next game. Or maybe they're going to get 2 reps instead. Maybe he'll come back and make a return. And then they'll probably add Eliza, who could also join in from Wild Thornberrys. And just kicking it back from Kart Racers 3, and the kart racing games in general, they didn't even have a single Wild Thornberrys character. Isn't that pretty crazy? Or would they say, that's pretty wild? But just things like that. We just don't know. So they might end up doing the same thing. But he's one of my favorite characters to play in this game, with his moveset and things like that. Wild Thornberrys deserves more. Even Rugrats too, with just Reptar. As powerful as he is, what are they going to do if the babies get in? How are they going to play? Are they going to play as a cohesive unit? Where you could just switch between Tommy and them and just different skins? How would they really play in this kind of game to have the babies get in from Rugrats? And then with Helga, she's an actual fighter, which is understandable. She's a real fighter when it comes in comparison to Arnold. But maybe Arnold could probably appear, but he's an all-star. So I think he deserves it too. And just the fact that he learned martial arts, you might remember that episode, it can make him just as dangerous. Danny Phantom being by himself for a solo, he has so many stat villains. Just like I was talking about with TMNT, Bebop and Rocksteady, Dr. Stockman, Crane, see what I'm saying? Leatherhead, Metal, just things like that. They could definitely get in. Slash, it's so many different characters. And I think Danny Phantom can have some of the most iconic villains from his show, because they're so memorable. And then they could be even more powerful because they have their own abilities. Real monsters, you only got one. No Ickis, no Chrome. But I think Ickis could probably be able to fit in with Ablina. Garfield by himself. Genie with Vexus can get in. Just like I was saying earlier, Jimmy Neutron can probably be in. He belongs in this game, and I think it's just like a no-brainer. Why not get Jimmy Neutron with all the gadgets that he has? That's just an endless supply of moveset potential, his character ability, and the things that he could say. Just like other maps, Retro Land was one of the playable tracks from the most recent game for kart racers. That could be a nice little stage to play on with a nice background. Retroville, you can get the city of Retroville, Retro Land, the Taco Shack. It could be something like that, or maybe it could be somewhere just by Jimmy's house or Jimmy Neutron's house. Rocco and his best buddies, Filbert and Heifer. It goes on and on. Big man, really big man. He'll be a dangerous fighter. He could be able to go head to head to Powder Toast Man. But that's what I'm talking about. It's just like they have so many different moveset potential when it comes to some of these characters. But just being honest, I wouldn't be surprised if these two get kicked out and just get cut and replaced. I'm not sure what they would become. Or maybe they'll be later on released or re-released as DLC. Have the 4 turtles in for the base roster and then re-release them as DLC later on. And then some with other characters. A Fire Nation rep, Zuko can definitely be able to get in. I think I see him probably joining in. And then something else, let's get some other newer shows that's missing. Fairly Odd Parents, if it's possible. And then Tough Puppy, LT Gray, underrated shows like Rocket Power that I don't see many people talk about, Chalk Zone. It just goes on and on when it comes to all this, the different possibilities, the character potential. This roster could be huge and stacked. All this space over here, and just over here by Leo and Nigel and things like that, you got all this potential. I just hope that they won't really just come out with a couple of characters. Do you guys think there'd be free DLC similar to what they did? Cause see how Garfield, these were the first two characters. Garfield came out in December, then Strato followed up in February, a little bit afterwards with the Slime Time stage. Is it gonna be free DLC? Maybe they'll start with a couple characters free. Maybe they'll bring back the first universe pack. Packs could be making a return, where it's actually more than one this time, which I'm hoping. And it goes on and on for consistent updates, new modes, and things like that. Cause I'm gonna just kick it back. Let's go to the news tab. Let's go all the way back. Cause see, that's when he joined. These two characters were free. See, it says January. He came out in February. These two characters were free. Do you guys think they're gonna be free DLC? So even regardless of who's in the base game, is the DLC gonna be free to start off, and then it becomes paid DLC? Or maybe they'll just immediately start charging for some of these characters, which I wouldn't blame for characters like Timmy Turner with Cosmo and Wanda. That definitely deserves to be paid DLC. Considering how hard it's probably going to be getting it to get him involved into the game, and all these other characters that's missing. You see, hopefully with some more modes and new content, new items could get in, and each character that they launch it can come out and have an item included in the same package. You get the character, or you get the fighter, you get their costume. Hopefully they have more than one costume, and then you get an item included for paid DLC within each individual character that comes out. If it's not another pack or a DLC pack or fighters pack, whichever they choose to call it. But I don't know. I really don't know what's gonna happen. But I really see those kind of characters like, just going back to the roster.
Select your fighter.
I think the most changes is gonna probably be implemented when it comes to the TMNT, and it might also have something to do with the Avatar, SpongeBob, and more. But these other characters that have single reps, I definitely can see them making a return. Reptar himself, Wild Thornberries might get cut and might not even make it into the next game. They might just bring him back by himself without Eliza or any other sort of Wild Thornberries character. But I wouldn't be surprised. But I think TMNT is going to have the most changes, because you already have 4 turtles. They can have easily the most reps from the game. And then SpongeBob, it exceeds the SpongeBob universe when he only has 3 characters. He has so many other characters that can belong. Man Ray, Mermaid Man, Barnacle Boy, if they want to put them in as a duo, it just goes on and on. What do you guys see making it into the game? I don't know. I just get this slight feeling. I don't think this full roster is probably going to all be included in that sequel. Somebody's going to get cut. Someone's going to get replaced. And there's just going to be newer changes. I hope they put new shows and all those other ones that's missing to belong in the sequel, if there is. But just again, I hope that they all make it in. No one gets replaced. But let's get those other 2 turtles, Donatello and Raphael, into the game. I want to see him in the game. He's the fighter. He's more of the fighter who loves to fight and get into that action himself. Not saying that they're not great characters, because I don't see people play Shredder that much. But I think he's one of the best characters that they added. And then hopefully more villains will be able to accompany them in the next game.